Okay. Right, guys. We are here, and I am starting from now. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Online interviews, discussions, and debate show on Genevision Media. Today, our special guest is Raphael Onochie. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, you are.
Um,
Yeah.
and he is a life coach, and he has a lot of things that he would like to share with you guys. So I've asked him to come on this platform today just to give us an idea on how to make 2017 the best year yet. So um, he has a number of businesses. He is, like I said, a life coach. He has a life coach business, and he really wants to get in touch with the community to share with them his knowledge and understanding. And yeah, we're just going to hear a little bit about himself. So please welcome Mr. Raphael Onochie. Hi.
I
So what have you got to say? Tell us about yourself.
well, I was born in and raised in South London to Nigerian parents, and I actually more or less grew up in foster care, and I was well, my foster mother um is well technically is Jamaican, but obviously I'm no longer in foster care anymore, but I still see her as my mother. So um I see she's a very kind and loving, warm-hearted person. So I kind of take on taken on the aspect taken on her aspects of helping others. So that's what made me, lead into wanting to help others. But I never knew how I was going to do it. In fact, how I got into the life coaching was very um I wouldn't say strange, but it was more or less by accident because I remember I was working for a sales and marketing company and I wasn't doing as well as I should be doing, and I was feeling quite low. So I spoke to my brother, and then he told me about this guy called Brian Tracy. And then I downloaded one of. In fact, I didn't download. I think I bought a CD. And I listened to the 20 tips, and then I don't know. At that time, I actually had a LinkedIn account, and then I just put for some reason I just put life coach. Then I completely forgot about. I was just focusing on trying to make a music career. And then um, back in 2013, there was this life coaching 2-day training event, and I attended it. And I think I went to in fact, when I attended that event, people telling me that I was a natural and I should get into this a bit more. So I thought maybe I should. So little did I know, I tried to open up another LinkedIn account because I couldn't remember my password for the old one. And then um, I've got a suggestion to add my old profile, and it mentioned life coach, and I just was blown away by the fact that completely forgot about the fact that I said life coach. So I put myself as that I'm a life coach, and then now, I've made steps to becoming a life coach. Started a business called V1 Coaching Limited, and so the aim is to help people, mainly those on a low income, to actually achieve their goals. Because you know, from my personal observation and from my uh, I won't just say from my upbringing, but from my experiences, people on low income don't really get the help that they need, and also, there's certain things like life coaching that's not it's far reach for them from other people. Not to knock what other life coaches are doing, but they have a different target market, which is fine. But my target market is definitely those on low income. And then also started a non-profit organization called the Akabilan Trust. And again, that was, I wouldn't say that's by accident. I just more or less asked one of my aunties, who lives out in Nigeria, you know, I wanted to help out. What was more to do with the hospital side. I just wanted to know more. What can I actually do? And then she just told me, to be honest, the whole infrastructure needs to change. And it got me thinking about my music, and because I was trying to spread knowledge about certain things, but nobody was actually listening. So I thought, okay, well, let me try and, you know, maybe I need to do like build a school or something like that. But after the first year, didn't raise enough, nor did I have the knowledge or know-how of, you know, of raising funds properly. But then now, after speaking to a business advisor last month, he put me through to these online courses, and it's made me think more clearly of how I'm gonna um how I'm gonna implement my plans. So one of the plans is actually to do one-on-one workshops, and then do a group workshop and teach people how Africa was before colonization and how to be independent and self-sufficient. So that that's me really. And I suppose another thing I could also add is, I've always wanted to help people as well. Because I probably was like 8 7 8 years old, and I would listen to Michael Jackson, and I remember that Heal the World song, and I said to my foster sister that I wanna help change the world. Like, I don't know why I said that, just because I listened to Michael Jackson. This was just something from that song that just resonated with me, and then here I am now trying to do exactly that. So, and I suppose that's it really. I mean, I have done a lot of other things before that. You know, uh, uh, I was a radio personality on Represent Radio from 2008 to 2011, and I had a distribution. Well, yeah, distribution deal with Australian music company, which made me think about starting my own label or my own entertainment company, trying to help other artists. And but now that company is dormant. But after speaking to one of my nephews who wants to now be an artist, it made me think more that I need to actually speak more on. Well, I need to actually help him achieve his goals, and if he wants to do the music, then I'm all about family business. So if that's what he wants to do, then I'm gonna have to get that company going again. But before I do that, I want to focus on one goal specifically, which is the coaching business. And that's the main thing about having a goal as well. Like, you can have so many other goals, but if you if you don't focus on one, like, then you're always gonna not. I won't say you're not gonna achieve it, because in some cases you are gonna achieve those goals. But when you focus on one goal, it's much more easier, and you're clear on the steps that you're going to take, and then it allows more room for the other goals to be achieved. So yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant. You've said a lot there. I've tried to write down some notes so that I don't forget questions that I want
Yeah.
to ask you. So you said
Okay.
that you was actually raised in foster care.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that like?
It was quite interesting. I don't I don't know how to really put it into words. I mean, because I felt loved and wanted. I feel, you know, again, I don't know, like because my first, like I said, I drew inspiration from my foster mom about helping others. So I guess the that whole positive vibration really helped me into the person I am today. So I could say it was a great thing, even though I was the only boy in the house for quite some time, but that was fine. I mean, being surrounded by my foster sisters, but even then, like they would help me see things from a different perspective. So, for example, I think that's probably another reason why I got a lot more respect for women as well because um it's so easy. Like from what I see, like I don't know about others, but from what I see is there's most guys don't have respect and know how to speak to women. Like they're all over the place. It's from speaking to my foster sisters. It's made me more, you know, humble and more respectful.
I want to come back to that one as well. Yeah. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so um, so what actually is a life coach?
Well, a life coach is someone who more or less switches on the light in someone to see the things and people around them to help them achieve their goal. So they're quite different from a mentor, from an advisor and a counselor, because with advisors and counselors and mentors, they give advice and they also may give tools and strategies for them to achieve their goals. But the difference is the client will not necessarily take on that advice, or they would take on the advice only when it gets to drastic measures or when it gets to desperate times. Um, whereas a life coach, the client is more. I don't even know what the word is right now, but you know, at the end of the day, they're more. Well, yeah, the client is more liable. So at the end of the day, it's up to the client. But at the what the life coach really does is ensures that they achieve their goals. So they motivate them in by by helping them where they are right now and using what they have right now.
I think you're I was gone back. So you went a bit fuzzy there, like he was like working for. It just went a bit mad. So yeah, continue.
Okay, so I can just go over what I was saying. I don't know if you can hear me clearly. So the difference, so what a life coach is someone who turns on the light in the client, so they see and they see things and people around them to help them take the next step to achieving their goals. Whereas they're quite different from a mentor, counselor, or a advisor. That they give advice and they don't necessarily have to take the advice, or they don't take the advice. But when they do, it's necessary. It's most of the times in when it comes to desperate times. Like I can give, like I'm a prime example. Like for me, it was only like even though yeah, I've I would consider myself successful, but even though because sometimes I can be stubborn, but I I felt like for example with the Akabilan Trust, I knew the goals I wanted for it, but I didn't know exactly what to do until I got a business advisor. That's when things became more clear. Even what I learned, I can apply it. Well, I'm going to be applying it to the coaching business as well. So in the long run, it took me it took me quite some time to get to a kind of a desperate level to take upon the advice. So whereas if I had a life coach, then it would have been quite different. It would have been, well, obviously I'm a life coach, but it's like, yeah, I can coach myself, but if I get someone else that's a life coach to help coach me, then I'm still more liable, but it's more effective because it's where you are now. It it's using everything that you have right now because at the end of the day, everyone has a goal that they want to achieve, and most people don't realize that they have the tools necessary to achieve that goal. Like they have the goals and also got the people around them, even if they don't see it. It's just the life coach opens their eyes up to it using different tools and strategies that are specified to them.
Okay, so it's a bit like I have a personal trainer to try and kick me up the butt to get fit. So it's kind
Yeah,
of, I understand what you're saying in terms of just kind of motivating you to kind of get to the next level of where you want to be in life.
yeah.
Um, and I do agree. What well, you said you went on a 2 day course. Where was that course?
It was actually in. I don't remember the specifically what it was in the London hotel. It's actually with the coaching academy. And what's quite interesting is um
Coaching Academy.
that the funny thing about the coaching academy, not to knock what they are doing, because I fully respect them and I've learned a lot from them in that 2 days amazingly. But the first day was like a nice introductory, and then the second day was just like probably like an hour, like nice like lessons, and then after that it was just hard sell, trying to um force people, well, not force people, but trying to get people to sign up to a training course that cost, some of them were like 10 grand. And to me, I'm just thinking to myself, even if I did have that money at that time, I wouldn't do that because I feel I feel what I have learned, like I can use what I've learned to help others anyway. And the other thing is, like, I'm one of these people that's always learning from other people. So for example, in the life coaching industry, Tony Robbins is a prominent person, and even Les Brown. So I learn from these people. So at the end of the day, it's you can have all the academic lessons you want, but you're never really gonna learn something properly unless you gain the experience by actually doing it. So that's my take on it. But it's it's a tricky one because it's a it's a thing where you want to make sure that you're given the correct um you want to make sure that you're helping people correctly. But I feel as long as I can actually communicate with my clients correctly and to their standard, then it should everything should be fine
Okay,
as long as they're achieving their goals.
cool. So you said that you would like to work with um, low income kind of people. So I guess people that
Yeah,
are not working or are low income.
yeah.
Somebody said to me a couple of days ago, or maybe a week ago, that people who don't pay for things, they don't understand the value. What do you think about that?
I it just depends on the person, to be honest with you. Because at the end of the day, times are changing, but it depends on it. Like I said, it depends on the person. It depends on what their intentions are, like, and it depends on the product or the service. Like for example, I think music and music and TV programs, they're more accessible online. So and movies as well. They're more accessible online. So most people want to access it on. They want to access it for free, but the question is, why do they want to access it for free? But it's not because they don't value it, because obviously if they don't value it, they wouldn't want to access it in the first place. So it's more of, I feel it's just I feel this is why I want to this is why I target low people on low income, because I feel that in a way, um when you price things up, when you price things too high, it's either they feel like, I won't say depressed, but they can get depressed, and then it doesn't really. I don't know. I'm trying to. I want to give like an example, but I don't know what example I can really give. But I suppose one example I can actually give is actually with Tidal, like that music streaming service. It's like they have complete exclusive music online, but some people don't want to pay for the service. But the more exclusive that they continue to have on a particular artist, like let's say, for example, I'm trying to think of a popular artist. Let's say, for example, if it's someone like Drake on Tidal, which kind of won't be the case, but if it's Drake, then they're more likely to say, okay, you know what, I may just end up paying the 99.99 for the service every month, or it just depends on the actual product on service. But I do think people value um value stuff. It just depends on what it is, to be honest.
I hear that. I also think that it depends on the person as well, because, like you said, you went on the coaching
Yeah,
academy course. I did the 2 day course as well. I found it fantastic. I also would say that, considering that it was only 2 days, the
yeah,
connection that I made with some of the people there would like last a lifetime. It's like you really went on a journey. Um,
yeah,
and I am one of those people that kind of jump on a lot of freeness, but it's not to say that like I'm just jumping on it for the sake of it. You know, there's points in my life where I literally I didn't have two pennies to rub together. So the only thing that
yeah,
I could do was find something to kind of motivate myself, and
yeah,
finding a free event, or something online. Um, the first time I saw Tony Robbins was at a free event, and he kind of blew me away. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Just and Les Brown as well. The type of impact that these people can have on you, um, is absolutely amazing. So I do think it is kind of like the type of person as well,
yeah,
and what you're willing to do with it. And also, like you said, with the life coach, the whole point of needing a life coach is we have to be motivated daily, and sometimes even hourly, sometimes even like
yeah,
minutely. Do you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
we say, yeah, we want to do this, we want to achieve this, we want to go somewhere, but and something can happen that can turn you off of your path. So we have to kind of need something to kind of like motivate and push us forward.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I think it's kind of important to just remember those types of things.
Yeah,
So our subject today is making 2017 the best year yet. Now, what would
yeah,
you say, as a life coach? What are kind of the some kind of tips that you could give to people, to say, how can we set off this year right? How can, what is the things that we could look at? I've written a list down. So we'll start off with career and finances. What, especially for a person on a low income, what is the next step? Because, in this day and age, they can't necessarily go to university and get a degree to get a better job. And sometimes that's not even You know, it doesn't even make sense doing that anyway. And
Yeah.
jobs are few and far between, and especially if you live in London
Yeah.
and and you know you're commuting, no tubes and trains and etc. You know, what kind of tips can you give to a person to improve like their finances or their career choices, whether they want to go into entrepreneurship business or they just want to get a better job?
Well, let me start off with the let me just say with entrepreneurship. The first thing I would really suggest is, you know, like going into a library and actually
Hold on, a what? A what?
going into the library
A
and actually,
library. Let me write that
yes,
down.
yeah,
Library. I hope my children are watching. Library.
yeah,
Yeah, go.
yeah. So yeah, going into a library and actually, you know, looking at books or even going on a computer and going onto the internet and, you know, find out about, first of all, what an entrepreneur is. Because before anything else, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you've got to know what it is first. And then also find out about those who act, or maybe just find out. I'll say first, also write. The second thing is write down a list of people that influence you, that you think are entrepreneurs, or once you find out what entrepreneur is, and let's say, for example, like um, I don't know, like Sir Richard Branson, like for me, I know he's an entrepreneur. Like he's inspired me. The funny thing is, my first phone was a Virgin phone, ironically. But like if it was me starting out, what I would do is go into the library and I would find a book. So if so, especially autobiography, because he's been through a lot. So you would learn from him what he's done. Obviously, not everyone's going to go through the same obstacles, but you can learn from his mistakes and you can learn how he started. And then you're going to end up finding about someone else in his book, and then you're going to end up finding out more other people, and then you can research more. So the main thing is about researching if it's about entrepreneurship, and then after that, it's more or less making sure you either get a life coach or a business advisor, or get both, a business advisor and a life coach. Um, I think that's really the key things in terms of starting out as an entrepreneur. And um, I'm trying to think about with career or job wise. The other thing is, if if with a job and career, it's always going to depend on your qualification and the job that you're actually applying for. But most people tend to apply for jobs for the sake of the fact of it's a regular income. So if that's the case, then you're gonna have to think about, are you passionate about it? Just, if you're not passionate, if you don't know what you're passionate about, just write all the things all the things that you do not like to do, or write the things that you like to do. Then you're gonna end up finding um jobs that sub jobs that surround what you like doing, and then apply for those type of jobs, because there's always going to be a job out there for anyone that you like doing. Um, so those are my tips. And then also I
Excellent.
also would say, just be make sure you're open and honest with yourself. That's the main thing. When you're open and honest with yourself, then everything really, in a sense, takes care of itself. Like everything just manifests.
Right. So you said that you need to do research on what you're doing.
Yeah,
You can't just jump in and say, yeah, I'm going to be a CEO of I don't know, you want to be another Richard Branson. You have to kind of learn before you jump in and say, yeah, you're going to do that. I think that's very important. whatever
Yeah.
the field that you want to go in, you have to know about it. You also have to know about your competition.
Yeah.
I think all of that is very important.
Yeah.
Um, so I've got so many things up here. So in terms of family, how can what is your suggestions on how to make family life better, or improve, whether it be relationships with children, with external family, maybe even friends? What can you
Um,
give?
well, the tips I can give again is it's always about being open and honest, but then at the same time, you have to be wary of, well, not well, you have to respect their their views and their opinions on things. For example, um, religion is a big factor when it comes to family. So you've got to, well, family and friends. So you've got to respect their views and their opinions. Like sometimes you could end up going to see a friend or a family, and they're gonna try and um put their religion on you, and you may not be all that religious, but they're gonna try and convince you to go to church or go to the mosque or go to the synagogue. But um, I would say that just try and be calm and then just let them know why you don't support their religion, but just be say it in a respectful way. And as long as with the thing with friends and family is there's always going to be a mutual thing that you have in common. You're always going to have something in common. So if you start off or restart from there, then things should be able to flow easily from then. If not, then um well, as far as family, it's hard really to say you start off new, but with friends, some unfortunately, but fortunately, some you will have to ditch. Like I'm a true firm believer that people come into your life for a reason and a season. So it's just up to you to think what they came into your life to actually teach you, and and it's just about learning from experience.
Right. So that's a good point, actually. Do you think it's important to have a type of faith, religion, um, spirituality? Do you think that's important?
Um, it's hard to really say. At first I thought because I grew up because my foster mom took me to church like regularly. Like, yeah, I do believe in some cases it's important, but what's more important is the truth. So at the end of the day, when you understand the truth, then you start to understand certain things, and you end up try to live your life the way that you want to live it. But so I'm a like the only way I can really put it is me personally. It's everything is when it comes to religion and spirituality, it's always going to be a personal thing. So for me, I don't believe in no labels whatsoever. Like I do believe in the concept of like my like believing in my ancestors. Some may say that's wrong, some may say that's right, but it's not for anyone to say whether it's right or wrong. It's what I believe in, and it's helped me like it's helped me to be who I am and what I do. And it religion the same thing. Like for example, let's look at the slavery rebellion in America with Nat Turner. Like he used Christianity, so it helped him. So at the end of the day, it just depends on that person, and the intentions are important. But the thing is, um, if you're trying to teach someone about the truth about a certain religion, and like you can't really, I can't say you cannot teach them, but you can open their eyes to certain things if you're concerned about the religion that they're in. But at the end of the day, it's up to that person whether they choose to continue to follow afterwards. Because at the end of the day, it's their own path to follow.
Yeah, you've gone a bit funny again, but
Oh,
we can hear you. We just can't see you.
okay.
Um,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I don't remember what I just said. Yeah. So in a nutshell, religion and spirituality is more of a personal thing. So me personally, like I said, I only I believe in like my ancestors, and I wouldn't say that I wouldn't really label myself as spiritual. I used to label myself as spiritual, but for now I don't label myself as anything. I just believe in what I just believe in, and for some people, religion works for them. For some, it doesn't. Whether it's based on the fact of what they've learned or their own personal experience.
Yeah. Do you believe that there is some kind of moral standard to be successful? I'm saying that in a way of asking, could you be like a hustler or do something illegal to do well? Obviously, people would make money like that all the time, but do you think that you know to be successful, can you be straight down the line? Do you have to have some moral standards? And is that important, being a life coach, to encourage people to kind of be moralistic or, like have integrity with what they're doing?
See, that's a really interesting question. And I like that question because I feel um how do I put this? I feel that I wouldn't say I put it this way. In this this Western world, or I like to call it the matrix, like there's certain things that are in place that are unnatural, but um it's become natural by like just out of habit over the years. So let's say for example, if it's like someone selling drugs. Now it may see it it may seem like it's wrong from a moral standpoint, but that person who's selling the drugs, we don't know what their intentions are. Like we don't know if they got a baby on the way and all they're trying to do is get the money so they can feed their child or feed yeah, just it's things of that nature. Like and it depends on, let's say for example, like 50 Cent, like he used that to get out of the situation. Same thing with Jay-Z, like he used that to get out of the situation. Like he used most of like I think him, yeah, there was Jay-Z, Kareem Biggs, and Damon Dash. They used their money from illegal activity, from so-called illegal activity, selling drugs to form like one of the biggest and most influential hip hop um record labels, Rockefeller Records, and it's 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 a thing where it's all about intention. Now, the one thing I've learned over the years is like if I feel that someone, let's say for example, I don't even know, it's a really like for example, um, if someone's goal, like as mad as this and wrong, well, it's wrong to me and it's most be wrong to other people. But let's say for example, this to the to the pedophile situation. Now, if someone was to come to me and ask me about achieving that type of goal, I would tell them no. Like, even if they were to offer me like billions or even trillions, like that's a no. That's one of it's all about um again it's just about how one person feels about certain things. Like it may sound wrong to sell drugs, but if you go to the pharmacy, they're selling drugs, and that's worse than the actual um I don't know why they call weed a drug because it's actually a plant, but that's worse than weed more times because there's more side effects and more people get ill from the side effects than the actual situation. And you've got um all these, like, I can go into this really deep. Like, they're going in, they go they they create these invasions going over to places like Iraq, Afghanistan, to like, some people say it's about oil, but I very much doubt that. It's about, everything is all about control. It's they like they feed the drugs into the system, so they're feeding things like opium into the system, and it's a mad situation. But to break it down, it just depends on intentions and what it is that they want to do with their lives. So that's more important.
Cool. I was going to say that you can't seriously tell me that, somebody selling crack cocaine or something, affecting somebody else's life and ruining somebody else's life, even though it's doing something for their life. But then when you brought in the pharmaceutical drugs, I couldn't really argue with it because most of the drugs that were on the street are either exactly the same or just cast offs
Yeah,
industry anyway. So, it's kind of a bit, oh, I suppose we live in a bit of a hypocritical world,
yeah,
to say that, just because somebody is not legally selling something and somebody is legally selling something who still has the moral standing, it's still, it's still not moralistic in either way. So I kind of hear
yeah,
what you're saying in those kinds of situations. But I suppose if somebody is getting to the point of their life where they feel that they need some form of coaching or whatever, then hopefully they would have got past that point, or they would be saying to themselves, I want to do something better for my life and my family, whether it's, it's their family that is affected as well. So I think that is really important.
yeah,
And you've kind of touched on the other point, what I was going to bring up in regards to education and self improvement, when you said in the beginning that we kind of need to do our research
yeah,
first of all and kind of know what we want. I mean, yeah, kind of every year in the last 4 years, I would say, for me,
yeah,
I've been kind of taking maybe like the last quarter of the year, the
yeah,
previous year, to kind of focus on, okay, what have I achieved? What are my successes? What are my failures for that year? And kind of what do I want to achieve for the next year? So I
yeah,
really do take that time out, whether it would be writing down, recreating my vision board, on, have I, what have I achieved? Is there anything on there that I have achieved? Because sometimes we don't even realize that we've actually done something, and
yeah,
and we until it's done, and because we're actually living it and we don't actually realize it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna take like a good 3 months to reflect. And I don't really like to use the word resolution for the new year, simply because I feel that if you're going to change something about yourself, why can't you do it, change it? Why do you have to wait for a new year or a certain time? Do you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
you don't know what would happen in that amount of time. Look how many people we lost in 2016.
yeah,
Many of them you wouldn't have even dreamed would have not lasted the year. It was just ridiculous. So I think it's pertinent to understand that the time is now, and
yeah,
once you have the opportunity, and something is out there, that you must grab it. And that's why it's important to gain knowledge and understanding, because how how can you decide to change? You're only going to
yeah,
do what you already know.
yeah,
um so I think that is very you know, a very important thing. What about the kind of lifestyle that people want to live? I mean, um, I've I've been toing and froing with this
Yeah.
idea because I've said that I want to be a millionaire. I want to have money. Now, I don't want to have money for the sake of having £1 million in my bank, yeah,
Yeah.
because that's not money is paper. It's not really. It's not even a real thing. But it's just what I can do.
Yeah.
That's the kind of lifestyle that I want. Now,
Yeah.
coming from a church background, I was led to believe, I'm not saying it's right, but I was led to believe that, you know, you shouldn't really be coveting the things of this world. You shouldn't really want money. You shouldn't really want a nice house or a nice car or nice things or go on nice holidays or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. Um, I thought maybe I'm not doing the right thing by thinking that way. And everyone always tells you, oh, you're never going to be able to do that. You're never going to be able to achieve that. You know, you have this, you have that, you've got this to think about. Just go and do your little work and don't worry about all those goals and whatever. And
Yeah.
then I leave that now and say, okay, you know what, maybe I can, you know, maybe I might not be in a position now, but you know, if I work towards my goals and you know, you don't know what's going to happen, maybe I can achieve that. Then and next kind of who I'm not going to mention any names or but I'm sure you'll see where I'm going when I start talking about this. You'll come into
Yeah.
another community where you see the people that are doing really, really well.
Yeah.
They're scam artists. They're told that all they care about is money. They've left their
Yeah.
community to go to a better life. Now, I just don't understand that. Isn't that what people want? Ghetto. Don't you want to get out of that ghetto? Be in an area where somebody's getting stabbed or shot every day. Do you really want to live in an area where you see somebody selling drugs on the bottom of your road? Do you really want to live in an area know if it's safe to walk out at a certain time? Do you know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah. I know what you
understand.
mean.
So when when people kind of look at you and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be trying to do these things, or you shouldn't be trying to get a better life for yourself," I'm like, "Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, please expand on that. What do you think about what is the whole point of our existence if we're not trying to do better for ourselves? What can
See,
you speak on that, please?"
see, what I truly
I
believe it is down
truly
to,
believe it. Don't
I
you?
believe it's down to just poor education. Like at the end of the day, it's like it's that what's that terminology again? That crabs in a barrel mentality. So it's a thing of although at one point they feel that okay, well, for themselves personally, they want to achieve that goal. But if the moment they see someone else achieve that goal and do even better, that's when they become more jealous and then they start to, say and they say mean and hateful words against that person. But they still at the same time like are inspired by them, but they just don't know how to use that energy to get there. So even if the person or like it could even be me one day where they could just end up being jealous. And if I'm telling you for a life coaching session, I can help you get to where you want to be. And like, or even if I was to just say certain things to help them, it's like they're still not going to get it. So I think again, it's what we've gotten like in our community, what we've more or less done, like from a subconscious level, is we've more or less given birth to our children, but then at the same time, um, they've been taken away, or we're giving them away more or less to a system and where they have a set ideology where they have to follow. I remember in I think it was 2008 or 2009 at the Mix Festival, and I was speaking with a caller, and he was telling me like he teaches in
I want to meet
both
a
public
Carla.
schools, yeah, and
Go on,
in
sir.
public schools and private schools, and then he said the difference is in public in yeah, in public schools you're taught not to ask questions, you're taught to follow, and the people that you're following are the people that are going to these private schools that like Eton, and they're taught to be leaders. So they have that mentality. If one is successful and the other person isn't as successful, they got to help that person become more successful, and they may even become more successful than the other person. Whereas in public schools, even if one manages to learn how to get out of the system, they could try and teach and help people from the same public schools, but because of how they've been taught, it doesn't really stick to their brain on how to implement that action that they're being told. So it's, I think what we need to do, and this is what why I started active and trust as was, is getting back to the root of like the mother and well the mother and father actually teaching their children themselves instead of got going to these public schools and teaching them all sorts of nonsense. I mean, like I don't know, like there's some lessons I think to myself. I look back, I think, wait, what have I learned from school that I'm applying now? The only thing that ever learned is just my social skills. So it's like it's all depending on certain things. Everything else that I've learned outside of outside of school.
I learned how to do a tie in school,
Yeah,
so that was really useful. But saying that, I do wear a tie in my job now,
yeah,
tie, so I didn't need to know how to do a tie.
fair
So
enough.
yeah, that's pretty much all I remember from school.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It's like it's like what did we learn? I mean, in this country, like I can't really speak for other countries, but at the same time, like we there's certain things that need to be taught. Like for example, like meditation, like that needs to be taught because when you're when you're meditating, and after you finish meditating, you're calm, and when you're calm, you can't think, you're not thinking of mean or hateful things to say about someone. Like you're in your own vortex, you're in your own space, so you don't really think of hateful things to say. You get more inspired by that person, if anything, and then and there's also like I remember there's this book that I was reading. In fact, books that I actually recommend that people read um is The Four Agreements, and I think that's from Don Miguel, and The Mind by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Like those two
The
books,
for the first one,
The Four Agreements
agreements, yeah,
by Don Miguel,
yeah,
and The Mind by Dr. Malachi Z. York.
okay.
So yeah, those like, and I'll say as well, reading those books, even though they're gonna have simple words, but always read with a dictionary by your side or an etymology by your side, so you can understand what you're reading even more clear. So you can understand what you're reading properly, because then you know how to apply what you're reading. Because once you know how to apply what you're learning, there's certain things that you would do that, like for example, when people do say mean and hateful things, you won't agree with it. Like for example, um, in the four agreements, one of the four agreements is um, don't assume. So if someone's assuming that that person is a scam artist or a con artist, you're not. like if you read that book and you read and you understand about why you don't assume, then you're not going to actually assume that the a con artist or a scam artist. You're going to actually be more curious about how they got there, and then if you list like if if you listen to them properly, you will understand how they got there. So I definitely recommend those two books.
Mm. So I just have to go back to you said meditating in school. Now you
Yeah,
know religions would not be happy with their children being taught to meditate in school. Would you say that maybe praying is a form of meditation, or is that something totally different?
it's um it's
And what
another
about
form of meditating.
atheists who don't want
Say
to
again.
pray? What about atheists who don't want to pray as well?
Um,
So we talk about religious people and people that are not religious.
See, this is what I mean about like as I was saying earlier. I don't really more or less believe in schools to a sense. I just feel that most people should teach their own children. But the way I've looked at um well from what I've been studying, like meditating, like if a child is meditating, they're gonna feel more calm and also that it goes back into eating. So even if that someone's an atheist and I don't believe anything, like they could still meditate. It's not a religious thing or anything like that. It's a thing. It's a tool to use to help calm the mind. Because I'll give you an example. Like for example, I was watching an interview with Russell Simmons, and he would say that things were running in his mind all the time, and that's why he always used to take drugs. And then the moment he 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 in fact ended up doing yoga and meditating just because he wanted to actually look for women. But then he ended up being he ended up well, yeah, it ended up impacting him in the most positive way. So now he sees the benefits of it and he also wants other people to benefit from it. And I from my own personal experience as well, like I feel that I think that because I used to have behavioral problems when I was a child as well. So I feel had I had learned that, I think I would have been more calm and I would like I don't think I would have had as much behavioral problems, but I think it really does help. But then another key thing is food. Like what you eat is really, really important because it it
Did you
does affect the mind.
say food?
Food, yeah.
Did you say
Yeah,
oh, so now we're going there.
yeah.
Well, I was just about to ask you, please tell me how to keep kids still enough to teach them to meditate because boy.
See, the thing
So
about meditating,
what do you mean by food? What do you mean by food? Explain to us.
um, well, if you look at it in the past 40 to 50 years, like or let's just say from the early 1900s, people were actually, growing their own food. They were making their own clothes. They were very self-sufficient, whether they identified as being black, white, or Asian. Everyone was more self-sufficient. It's only up until the 40s and the 50s where the convenience of things started to happen. So now it's a thing where it's so convenient for to go to the supermarket and buy fruits and veg, or even go to the local market and buy fruits and veg. But at the same time, you don't know what's put in them. I remember watching a documentary. I think it was to do with Sainsbury's, and I remember they did like a test. Like they had like I think there was 4 or 5 um rooms, and they were testing the strawberries, and they were injecting things to make it sweeter, make it bigger, make it smaller. I was like, what is this nonsense? This is supposed to be like a natural thing. And then I started to research more about Dr. Sebi. I don't know how I ended up getting onto Dr. Sebi, but I started to realize that there's certain things that we're consuming that really does affect not only our body but our mind on how we actually do things. It's like if you eat chicken, for example, or anything to do with meat, sometimes you're going to end up feeling sluggish. But I remember eating. I remember I thought, let me just do the experiment and just come off from eating meat for about 2 weeks. I think, yeah, 2 weeks. And I started having a lot of green smoothies. And within 2 weeks, I was really energized. And it's amazing when I think about it. And then when I went back to eating chicken, I just felt sluggish. So I knew like what Dr. Sebi was teaching was right. And the fact that he says that he's actually healed people, that's had all sorts of diseases. So it makes sense. So again, I feel um with children, when you mentioned about keeping children still, they don't necessarily like kids are always going to be like hyper. Well, I won't say they're always going to be hyperactive, but they're always going to be active anyway. So the key thing is finding out from them or seeing from them their behaviors and finding out like what what puts them in a state of mind where they're focused, because that's the main thing. It's more or less being focused on something. That's another form of meditating. It's just focusing on a particular thing. I mean, it can get to a point where you can just be in a room with them and just sit down with them, even if it's for like a minute or 30 seconds. Like that's still enough.
Cool. Yeah, I am. I do agree with you on a lot of those things. We do have to be careful what we're eating, and there's a lot of rubbish in the food. Um, so
Yeah,
that is one of my goals as well. Um, to kind of just health in general anyway, and
yeah,
just taking it up to the next level from what I did last year. I mean, I'm pleased with what I achieved last year, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and I think that's what we've got to remember with everything. It's
yeah,
everything is we have to go in stages. We have to take things one step at a time. So
definitely.
I think that is very important. Um, I'll, I'm just going to segue the interview
Okay,
at the moment. I'm just going to kind of do some plugins
okay,
for the show and what we're planning to do in the future.
okay.
So, um, yeah, obviously, we're using the YouTube platform,
Yeah,
but you're mute.
hang on, give me a
So, we're using the YouTube platform. So, we want to be able to promote people's things that they're doing. Um, so interested in business, products or services, get in contact with us. Our email is Genevision, GENEVISN media at gmail.com. Give us some information about your product and plug it on there. And media, or you can go to our Facebook media and send a message on there. So at the moment, we would like to services of Candor Property Services. They are a and they look for they're looking to rent in London, and they specialise in rooms, one bedroom or two bedroom apartments as well. But if you're dealing with Like I've dealing with estate agents who charge a lot of money and don't give you the best service. Contact Capital Property Services. They are looking for rooms on service and find you the best tenants available in your area. They are looking for property right now. So information for that is info or property services. That's INFO POUR property PROPER services SERVICES.com at services.com. Looking for, if you are a landlord or you own a home in London and you'd like to rent out either a room or you would like to rent out an apartment or 2 bedrooms, get in contact with us. My son's just speaking as well. So don't worry about that. Also, say hello because you're already on the screen. Also, Candle Property Services are looking for people to work with them in London. So if you're looking for an opportunity to earn extra income, or you would like to do something part-time, full-time, whatever the case may be, they are looking for people to work with them in the London area to provide viewing services, do viewing properties and stuff like that. You don't necessarily have to have any experience with working in estate agents, but as long as you're good with working with people and you're willing to learn, then you will get trained on working with them. So again, if you're interested in that, go to the same email, info@candlepropertyservices.com and get in contact with them. Either send your CV or just send an email saying that you've heard through this live stream that they're looking for people, and they will tell you what they need. So that's one of the plugins. So if you have a business that you'd like us to plug, get in contact with myself, Vision Media at gmail.com, or go to the Facebook page, Television Media, and we will get back to you. Yeah, so we also have a few things coming up today. We will be interviewing I don't know why the thing keeps switching. Yeah, we'll be interviewing Martin Stevens from Progression and Development. He will be giving his tips. Also have success in 2017, and he will be Progression and Development. Upcoming seminars he has about what he's done in the past. So that's going to be very interesting. And we've got loads in store, guys. What you need to do is subscribe to the YouTube page. So you click on the subscribe button, and then next to the subscribe button, there's a little bell. If you click on that, that will give you the notifications to tell you when we're live. So that it will come up on your phone or on your email to say that we're live. Just click in and see what's going on. The 28th of January, first debate. And our first debate is going to be spirituality versus Christianity. Now, we're going to be talking about spirituality and Christianity. What want to do is I want to get a platform of people that actually talk this so much disparity and Facebook and about who's right, who's wrong, who knows best, who's, chatting I know the nonsense, who is denouncing God, do spiritual people, what do Christians actually do? You've seen this whole going on with Kimberell, with her making some comments about a certain class of people, and she's got herself into a whole load of trouble, and it's more a massive argument, especially on social media, about how Christians should be portraying themselves and what they should believe and what they shouldn't believe. And I'm going to ask our guest in a minute what he thinks about that, but personally, in my opinion, because I've got to give my opinion, and I feel and I believe that if you truly believe in something, then you need to stand by your beliefs in it. Now, I'm not even going to use that example because I just think it's ridiculous. But I'll use another example. Like, if you believe, like Raphael just said, if you believe that you shouldn't eat meat, then you just don't eat meat. If you really truly believe that meat should not be consumed in your body, then you just won't go near it, and you won't have nothing to do with anybody else at that. I mean, not that you wouldn't have anything else to do with them, but you wouldn't partake in it. If somebody that is doing a barbecue, and then that they're going to cater to you for that when you don't eat meat, you're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to come, or I'm going to come, but I'm going to bring my own food. You know what I mean? You're not going to change down the line and say, no, I don't, I think maybe, yeah, what, you know what I mean? If you have a belief, you stand by that belief. You can't just change your belief just because it's 2017. You understand what I'm saying? You can't just, you can't just chop and change, just, like another thing. If Christians believe, if you don't believe in God, the Bible says, if you do not go through the Son, I can't remember the scripture, but if you do not come through me, Jesus Christ, then go to heaven. So stop lying to people and telling them that, if I ask somebody, well, am I going to hell? Oh, I don't know, it's up to God to decide. But the Bible already told you. So, be honest with people. Do you know what I mean? Be honest with your beliefs. That's what I'm saying. So, it doesn't mean that you have to be disrespectful or you have to necessarily go out screaming out loud or whatever, but you need to stand by your beliefs. And the other thing that I want to say in this debate is, what is sin? Because at the end of the day, I got a realization that sin is subjective. It's everything is subjective, actually. Everything is subjective, because at the end of the day, what you believe is sin and what I believe is sin is two different things. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because it's subjective. I'll give you the example. Now, me and Raphael are speaking over a live stream. Now, his left and my left, if we put up our left hand, his left is going to be my right, and my right is going to be his left. So therefore, it's subjective. His left is still left, but it's not my left. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, if I was upstairs, right, and I said, oh, I can't, like, there's a fire in my house, and I'm on my ground floor level, and somebody says jump out the window, it's not going to be nothing because it's just like a little drop. But if I'm upstairs, it's going to be a bit, if somebody says jump out the window, it's a whole different perspective. Do you understand what I'm saying? So everything is subjective to, depending on the circumstance, depending on the person, right? So we have to be very careful when we want to label other people. Do you know what I mean? If we want to call somebody, saying that they're calling them out saying they're living in sin, how can you say that when their perspective is different from yours? Do you know what I mean? So we just got to think about those kind of things. So I hope that you will join me on that discussion. I do have some spaces left, if you'd be interested in being part of the panel discussion. And we're going to have, a cordial discourse. We're going to have a cordial discourse. We're going to talk like adults, and we're going to work this out. We'll do a good discussion. So, yeah. Coming back to Raphael now, I just had to go on my little spiel. I just like talking, apparently. So, you have to excuse me. Now, I just want to go back to one thing that you said in the beginning of your interview, Raphael. You said you have a high respect for women. Now, it seems like these days, high respect for women and vice versa are hard to come by. Tell me what you mean by you have a high respect for women. Sorry, I've muted you.
I just feel that, one, I feel obviously women go through a lot more than guys, but then at the same time, I don't know, like it's the whole respect. It just all depends on certain things. For example, like if a guy wants to move to a woman, or I don't like using the term move, but again, it's just depending on the person and what I mean. But if they like that woman that they see on the road or on the bar, restaurant or club or anything, it's a thing where me, like, if I approach them and they reject me or they ignore me, then I carry on with myself, and it's up to them to ignore me. It's down to them. Whereas some guys, they would actually, you know, start saying all sorts of nasty things about them when they don't even know them, but yet you wanted to approach them. So it's me. I just respect that, and then also I feel, like every woman has their own right to live the way that they want to live, and at the end of the day, um, how they dress is up to them. So it's like you can't tell a woman how to dress just because you may feel as if, like, let's say for example, if a guy's in a relationship, like, you can't tell them not to dress a certain way just because you feel a certain way about it. I mean, that's up to them. If they want to dress that way, then it's all about, everything is all about intention. They may not, they're not going out to dress to look for other guys, and even if they are, so what? That's down to them. So, but at the same time, I also, another reason why I respect them is because they give birth to a life, and for me, they're the essence of life. When, especially when they're conscious of certain things, then it becomes, my level of respect for women goes up a whole nother notch. But that's another story. Yeah.
So, Raphael, you're telling me, yeah,
Yeah.
that if you see a woman in a high-top suit, yeah,
Yeah.
and boobs hanging out, yeah,
Yeah.
that she should still be respected, even though she's got all her bits on display.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, like, it depends on, like, fair enough, if it was a situation where it's like how it's cold and wet in London. It's like then yeah, you should still respect her, but then if you're concerned about her well-being and you're concerned that with her health, that okay, you're dressed this way and could catch a cold, could get a pneumonia, all sorts of stuff, then be active and let them know. And if they follow and if they follow and listen to you, then fair enough. If not, then that's their choice. But if it's summer, then it's summer. Like then why are you gonna why do you want someone like why do some guys want women to dress um in fully clothed, yeah, in full length clothes when it's hot? Like they need to be, I don't know what the word is, right? They need to be cooled down, and it's the same thing of guys taking off their top. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I'm just kind of being devil's advocate to be honest, because a lot of people will say, well, she doesn't respect herself. She's trying to find man because she's dressed in a certain way. Yeah, if she's wearing, if you're seeing too much skin, then like she's trying to entice. What do you have to say about those kinds of things?
I, what I say, I don't know. For me, I just feel it's down to again their upbringing and what they believe. Like if they believe that, then they believe that. But again, it may not be true unless you actually speak to the person and they tell you this is they tell you that, then that's that. It goes back to that four agreements about don't assume, because if you're assuming and that is not the case, that's not the case, then you make yourself look like an ass. So it's, that's the way I see it.
So yeah, I kind of hear what you're saying in those regards, and I think really, well, personally, my personal opinion is um, people should do what they want to do, whatever they feel comfortable in doing, and other people should really look at them and judge them.
Yeah,
It's important, especially when it's funny, you get the sun on your skin anyway. So if you've got the body for it, if you don't have the body, then work on it
yeah,
before you share like
true.
say that because I'm a big girl, so I'm not gonna do anything stupid. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna
Yeah,
dress like I'm not gonna expose myself unnecessarily hurting the babies that are walking past me, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
if you got it, do what you gotta do. But a lot of people will disagree with me, but you know, it's just each to their own. And I think, we live in a society that we're so judgmental on other people, and it's important to kind of just focus on yourself.
yeah,
And if you really want to set the example, then set the example.
true.
I see there's like, for example, even like some Muslim women, like there's some Muslim women that they put on their hijab and all their gowns and whatever, and they look absolutely beautiful. Like really, like they're color code and they do all that, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
you can still dress covered up and look absolutely beautiful. Like, and you can style, you don't have to dance. You know what I mean? Not everybody looks good in skinny jeans. Yeah.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So not everyone has to wear it. So, it's just that you have to like know your style and work it out and stop following the trend.
yeah.
So yeah,
And
I
I'm
think
gonna also add. I want to also add as well is like the media as well play a huge part in how people perceive things. For example, it's like especially with women, it's like the the confidence level and the self esteem is low if they don't dress a certain way or look a certain way. So when when a woman actually feels confident within herself and she's wearing what she's wearing, and because she feels confident, no one has the right to actually judge her on what she's wearing, because if if she feels confident, and no one knows that her personal journey up until that point, so judging someone on how they dress makes no sense whatsoever.
I heard that. I heard that. We didn't really touch on your other business, the Alkebulan Trust. Is that how you
Yeah,
say it?
yeah, that's how you say it.
Alkebulan.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that, the Alkebulan Trust.
So I can't hear you properly. Sorry.
I said, can you tell us a bit about the other business that you've launched as well?
Okay. Well, with the Akabilan Trust, it's a it's a non-profit organization that the main aim is to actually rebuild the healthcare and the education system within the African and Caribbean diaspora. But and as far as the education, as I mentioned earlier, the whole point is getting people to realize that they are their children. So yeah, they are their first. The children is, what's the word I'm gonna put? Basically, the parents are the first teachers for their children. So everything they learn is from them from a certain point, and in some cases they're going to mimic them. So what they see, they're going to mimic what they see. So it's very important to know your history, like even if it's not just the whole African history, but like your own bloodline history. That's another thing that I really want to teach in these workshops that we're going to be doing, is learning about your own bloodline, because it's your own bloodline that's more important. Okay, yeah, got people that know about ancient Egypt and all these other places, but do you know your actual bloodline? Even if you can only know up until a point where you know your your great granddad was your great great granddad or your great great grandma was a slave. Even that is a starting point, but it's all about what you do from now and what you teach your children now on how to you know become the better version of you. So that's the main thing, because even before I was talking, as we were talking about the meditation and food, like those are the key things as well. For example, they with in this country, and I think even in America as well, they heavily promote powdered milk, and then also cow's milk and all those stuff there, when humans are not they're not cows, so why are they drinking powdered milk?
I think
So
we're going to have to bring it back when we're talking about our food, because it's
yeah,
invited in that department.
yeah, that'd be great, because I've got a lot to say about that as well. So, but yeah, as far as
And just give the people all your contact information, how to get hold of you, names of your
so,
websites.
say it again.
I said, can you give the people your contact information, names of your websites, and how to get hold of you in terms of doing these coaching sessions, these one-on-one sessions, and these workshops when they're going to start.
Okay, so the websites are www.v1coaching.org. So that's V, then a numerical one, coaching.org, and then to be able to book a session. Um, so yeah, the website's pretty easy to navigate. So if you go to the homepage, you can click on book now, and it'll take you to a form to fill out, and you can book a session there. And as far as the workshops, um, the the aim is to obviously do group workshops, but I am going to be doing one-on-one workshops for the Akabilan Trust. So that that's all depending on the timing of of anyone. So you can go to www.theakebulantrust.org. So that's THEALKEBULANTRUST.org, and / workshops, and you can actually book a workshop, and I should be able to do one-on-one workshop. I can do that online or can go to a library. It just depends on where that person is. So even if someone, I don't know, if they're in America watching this, you can still do the workshops. Like my main aim is to help as many people as I can, and that's the main thing. It may sound a bit broad, but as long as I can help one person, I'm good. But as long as I can help many people, I'm even better.
Excellent. Well, Raphael, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. And like I said, I hope that you will join us for future broadcasts.
Definitely.
Definitely keep in touch with us when you are doing your workshops and your group workshops and such forth. Hopefully, maybe I can come down, or one of the team could come down. I'm not in London, so it's
Yeah.
not. I can get down, but it's not all the time I can get down. Um, so yeah, it's just been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, if you need any help from us as well, just let us know. In terms of like event management, plugging it, getting people involved, and we'll be happy to do that as well.
Yeah.
Uh, I'd just like to thank you for your time and imparting your knowledge onto us. I will put your contact information on the video, um, so that people can click on the links and that.
Yeah,
I hope to speak to you again soon.
definitely. And thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. We
Uh,
have to make it work together, right?
Definitely, yeah.
I'm just going to close out the show now. Thank you for listening. I'm hoping that we can get our intro and outro music very soon. But I have to wait on my family to provide the music. Hint, hint. But hopefully they will get back to me very soon, so you get some music to go in and out, because we don't want to upset anybody's copyright infringements by putting on any music they're not allowed to. So yeah, so we'll be back on Wednesday, guys. Join us on Wednesday, same time, 7:30, with Martin Stevens. It's going to be another powerhouse. I love the men imparting us knowledge, because too many women tell me there's no good men out there. Well, I'm putting good men on the platform for you, so you can't tell me that you don't know no good men out there, because there's plenty. You understand?
Mm.
So yeah. So yeah, see you guys soon, and peace out. Bye.